So at this time, Lauren Patton, I would love to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and our speaker.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, I'm Lauren Patton. I am our marketing manager here at Getting Hired. I found Lauren McKeaney's site just kind of doing some stuff for work, and I also do have a picking problem. I had one when I was a child, and it came back like 6 years ago and just hasn't left yet. So I've been, going to therapy and trying to like figure out about it because generally there's not one way. So a lot of while she has like maybe one type and no two types are the same, a lot of the coping and management strategies are very similar. So you're always trying to find something new so that you're not like making yourself bleed or something like that, which is very common. um, Sarah, do we need to preface that there might be some imagery on here in case?
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Okay, so I'm going to show an image of my face, and there might be some images that might be uncomfortable. So we just want to let you guys know ahead of time. um, so there's that. So then I found her and I reached out and I was like, hey, this might be good for employers because I think a lot of people don't know that this is going on. And for instance, like I really like to joke to cope, but my husband's like, good thing you made your face bleed this week, and you have this webinar. And I was like, yeah, I know. I guess it's perfect fitting. But a lot of times, especially, now that we're all on video, or if you were in an office, or if you start pulling out your hair in a certain spot, you can get a bald spot. Like you're like, how do I cover that up? I have a huge presentation. Are people staring at it? And I think just being aware of that this is a problem a lot of people have and they might not even know it, might be helpful for anyone who's hiring someone or something like that. And so I thought Lauren's expertise would really be helpful since she does this every day, all day, instead of just, one little part of her world. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, it could be anything. Like I do pull my eyebrows, but then I pick at the scabs and I have one here too. That's me during quarantine when I was like, I'm fine. I'm totally fine, to my therapist. I was like, everyone's freaking out, but I'm fine. And this is like a week later. So I was like, I do it so much till it hurts. And even my husband's like, pick mine. And I'm like, it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? So if you have this, you might understand that. And when you talk about these things, people sometimes just feel like, oh, that's me. And you kind of just feel good that someone else out there is like you in one way or another. Makes you feel like not alone, a little more seen. So with that, I'd like to kick it over to our expert, Lauren, who's the head of the nonprofit foundation.
Well, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Lauren, for openly sharing some of your experience and like our wonderful origin story now. And thank you to Getting Hired and Sarah for hosting this webinar. I'm super excited to be here, and let's do this. So yes, my name is Lauren McKeaney. I'm the CEO and founder of the nonprofit, the PickingMe Foundation, established in 2016 in Chicago, Illinois. And I'm a silent sufferer turned adamant advocate of dermatillomania, also known as skin picking disorder, which is a body-focused repetitive behavior. And I've had the disorder for well over 2 decades, and I've now dedicated my life to sharing my story, developing management strategies, and building a community of support and resources all around dermatillomania, encouraging those struggling to choose themselves over the mental illness that chose them, picking me over skin picking. And here we can see some of my experience with skin picking and actually some individuals that I've gotten the pleasure to help with theirs along the way. So everyone's picked something, but I've picked everything. I've picked my skin daily for 28 years, and I'm poking at it in a myriad of scars and sores head to toe. And I went majority of my life not really knowing what or why I was doing this. I started skin picking when I was about 5 years old. There's this picture I remember of me lined up with other girls in swimsuits at the lake, and I'm just kind of, peppered in sores, bug bites all over my body. And those bug bites would last from summer to Christmas, largely because I just keep picking and scabbing them, opening them, and that cycle would continue. And it was actually first at summer camp when I noticed some satisfaction from picking. Of course, I was wearing sweatpants all summer long to hide the scars and sores that I had been experiencing. But when the fuzzy blue material from the sweatpants adhered to some of the scabs, it actually created a crustier, larger scab that was more satisfying for me to pick off. And it became this way of regulating stimuli for me. You know, if I was feeling too up, too anxious, excited, nervous, I'd find myself picking. Or if I was feeling too low, too spacing out or bored, I'd find myself picking. And as I grew up, that behavior ingrained itself in me. You know, in grade school, I was afraid to have sleepovers because I didn't want to bleed in someone's bed accidentally. And I was embarrassed to have kids come to sleep at my house because of my all black bed sheets from bleeding too much. You know, puberty gave me a steady selection of areas to pick at. Bullies called me polka dots or leper. High school nurses thought I was self-harming, while college counselors thought I was using meth, and both were incorrect. And it was getting harder and harder to explain away the hours I'd lose in front of the mirror, fixing these perceived imperfections, the stories I'd make up for missing things, and the reasons I'd give. You know, I'd often lie about the appearance of my skin, largely because I didn't know how to explain it, but I'd say I had bug bites or eczema or a rash or chickenpox, again. Sometimes I'd even string medical terms together really fast and hope no one asked too many questions. I knew my skin picking was a problem because it controlled my life. I mean, it was the first thing I thought about when I woke up in the morning. Did I bleed anywhere? Check my face. Did I pick? Feel any bumps? Is there something I need to level? All before my day would begin. And sometimes my day wouldn't begin because I would start my day with skin picking. And that would lead to skipping school, lying about not showing up for work, or isolating from family and friends. All because dermatillomania ruled and ruined my day. And here is some of my experience with my skin picking disorder. Doctors often called this a phase that I would grow out of. Dermatologists scoffed that I was too pretty to pick my skin. Psychiatrists weren't familiar with this mental illness being diagnosable as of 2013, and no one really looked like me. So I really did my best to cover it all up. Make everyone look the other direction or not ask too many questions. My parents' well-intended yet negatively received screams of "stop picking, Lauren," really only assured me that I was behaving badly and in need of being fixed. Dating and intimacy were more about covering up than opening up, and in work, I would lose track of the excuses I made for showing up late from a morning picking episode. I mean, skin picking really affected every area of my life. And here are just a few more images. And something to note here is sometimes skin picking is thought to just be in one area, maybe fingernails, maybe just face, and you really can experience it all over your body, as I do. In 2014, I picked an area on my upper right thigh and was hospitalized for the 8th time for a skin picking infection. Except this time it was more than an abscess or cellulitis. I actually contracted the life-taking bacteria MRSA, and the doctor talked to me about possibly losing my leg. And I was hysterical and crying, and I didn't mean to do this. And thankfully, about 2 weeks later, after they were able to treat the infection and removed 8 inches of my inner thigh, put in a wound vac, and put me in a wheelchair to leave, I heard a medical assistant at the hospital say, "She looks like she has dermatillomania," and my ears perked up. I had a name. I had a word, a term. I mean, over 2 decades of compulsively picking, and I finally had this, and eventually led to a diagnosis. I was elated, and I wanted to learn everything about it, take some medication, and finally get rid of this awful illness. But no, devastatingly, I learned how underserved and misunderstood the skin picking disorder community was. And really, in the next time from there that a stranger asked me, what's with your skin? I experienced a new compulsion, and I shared the truth. And I haven't shut up since. And here you can see my leg before that skin picking surgery from my thigh. And on the right, you can see one of my first conferences, speaking at a skincare conference. So the more I opened up, it was like each time I shared, I got a little piece of my identity that I'd chipped away back. And people started joining me and sharing their stories with skin picking too. And I started saying the phrase, I'm picking me, and set out to create this home, this foundation that I guess I'd always been looking for. So in 2016, I founded the nonprofit, the PickingMe Foundation, for skin picking community support, awareness, and resources. And the more I shared and developed this community, connecting and validating our experiences, the bigger we grew. And it's been an incredible journey, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to build and offer this community. And you know, that really used to be the update on my journey with dermatillomania thus far. But in 2019, skin picking disorder took away the use of my hands. I'd picked so fervently for so long that my hands deteriorated due to severe carpal tunnel, and I needed immediate double hand surgery to correct them. And I felt ashamed and defeated all over again. But my story doesn't stop there. That's just part of my story with this. And just like all the scars all over my body, I see them like punctuation marks, punctuating my story. I'm recovering with skin picking disorder, managing the struggle daily, and sharing my journey to hopefully help others, because now I believe my purpose picked me. And here are some images of that awesome community that we've been building, some of the people I get to meet and work with along the way through my foundation, and who really inspire me. So PickingMe Foundation is the only nonprofit worldwide dedicated to dermatillomania, founded by a skin picker for skin pickers. We encourage individuals to choose themselves over the mental illness that chose them by picking me over skin picking. And PickingMe stands for creating a community around awareness, support for dermatillomania sufferers, their loved ones, and education communities alike. We've helped tens of thousands of people learn about skin picking disorder and BFRBs, that they're not alone, and that there are resources and initiatives and management strategies available to them to take control back from these controlling disorders. And I'll be sharing a bit about those resources and initiatives along the way in the presentation, so stay tuned. And the last to note, we specialize in skin picking disorder, as most of our information will showcase, but it really is applicable to all other BFRBs that I will mention. And so here are just a few comments and feedback from our community on social media, and some individuals partaking in our initiatives, the What's With Your Skin Challenge and the Picking Me Pledge. So, BFRBs, body-focused repetitive behaviors, are self-grooming behaviors classified under compulsive and related disorder, obsessive compulsive and related disorders. And there are times when people are pulling, picking, scraping, or biting at their own hair, skin, or nails, and causing damage to the body. They're related to impulse disorders. They can be the main ones that people study and experience are skin picking, as we've discussed, dermatillomania, hair pulling disorder, also known as trichotillomania, nail biting, and cheek biting. And even though someone roughly in each classroom experiences a BFRB, which is about 2 to 5% of the population, they really tend to go underreported and misdiagnosed from a lack of awareness and understanding. About 75% of people who struggle with BFRBs are believed to be women, although that could largely be because men tend to underreport mental illness. And there's little research and studies around BFRBs, and they are often stigmatized as bad habits in the already stigmatized mental health community. Some of them have been diagnosable since 1987, like hair pulling disorder, whereas skin picking disorder has only been diagnosable since 2013. And BFRBs really do impede the quality of one's life, as we'll go through. There's about a 13% remission rate and currently no cure. Some people might be suffering with BFRBs and not even know there is a name for their disorder or communities to help them. So spreading awareness around skin picking and hair pulling is important, so those aware know that they're not alone. Understanding how BFRBs affect the work experience benefits all parties involved. Employees or candidates who pick or pull could act in such ways as avoiding eye contact, interactions, or canceling abruptly, often due to the shame of a BFRB episode. They could be running late from the compulsions of picking or pulling. Maybe they're trying to keep excuses together for why they came late. There could be a need for certain types of clothing, headbands, hats, scarves, and or wigs to cover the damage from the BFRB and just to feel comfortable showing up. You could look at use of makeup to conceal affected areas, a frequent reapplication and checking, because socially acceptable skin and hair is not necessarily BFRB skin and hair. And at PickingMe, we love memes to help relate to our community. And these are just two of my favorites, showing what it's like to have dermatillomania. I love the Band-Aids, Band-Aids everywhere. So in understanding how BFRBs affect work, you could also look at certain locations and how they could be hard to be around. Bathrooms have really bright lights often and mirrors that tend to be really triggering and increase our urge to pick or pull. You could notice if somebody is constantly wearing certain blockers. That might be a strategy of theirs to help with their picking or pulling. That could be like Band-Aids on triggering areas, or gloves, or acrylic nails, all being used to help deter the picking or pulling. And even though mental illnesses are said to be invisible illnesses, it's not necessarily so with a BFRB. Sometimes someone could experience bleeding through their clothing unexpectedly, or finding a puddle of hair from a pulling session. And also issues around adapting to the community and joining the team due to feelings of embarrassment and isolation. You know, this feeling of being alone, you're the only one who does it, different. And individuals with BFRBs are incredible workers, especially when you have an understanding of what the experience of their disorder is like and can provide them with support. So here are my top management recommendations for managing BFRBs, suggested mainly through my experience, which is with skin picking disorder, but again, adaptable to all BFRBs. So first, looking into trying cognitive behavioral therapy. Research a therapist familiar with CBT and mindfulness practices. You could start by breaking down your picking episodes as either focused or scanning. Knowing the difference between the two really helps you take on different strategies. If you're focused picking, that's kind of when you pass a mirror, you see some perceived imperfection, and then you're stuck fixing it for the next couple hours. Whereas scanning picking is more like your fingers are wandering your body with a mind of their own, searching for something to level, and it was very subconscious. And sometimes you can experience both where one turns into the other, but knowing the difference can help take on management strategies. I also recommend trying tracking episodes with a picking or pulling log. This can help increase awareness and understanding of when and why you're picking or pulling. If you want to try printing one out, you can download one from our website. And I recommend printing out a couple, leaving them in visible surface areas with a writing utensil, and just try to get pen to paper and recording some data so that you have something to learn from. Also involving a dermatologist. Here, I recommend to call ahead and see if they're familiar with the disorder, as they most likely will not be. And come prepared. You could order a derma resource packet from PickingMe and come with information on the disorder to help inform them. Bring a fidget toy or something to keep your hands busy in the waiting room. Prepare for the really bright lights and large mirrors you'll likely confront. And ask to wear gowns because they likely don't see all the areas that you are picking. Joining a support group, another great one. Here, you can experience this level of understanding that's really like no other. There's so much shame and isolation in BFRBs, and personally, me joining a support group was the first time I really felt like I was seen. And I highly recommend checking them out. And you can also look at PickingMe's virtual support group going on now. And taking NAC. Nacetylcysteine is an amino acid supplement that you can get from a vitamin store, and it's been shown to lessen BFRB urges in about 50% of its users. And here we see one of my actual filled out skin picking logs, a screenshot from our online support group, and an example of the supplement NAC. So more management tips here suggest altering the environment. This could look like splashing water on the bathroom sink to prevent leaning into the mirror to investigate, running the faucet while using the bathroom to be mindful of time, freezing any picking tools like tweezers or safety pins in ice to prolong you using them, or keeping your toothbrush by your kitchen sink to brush without mirrors like I do. Also refreshing with face wipes. Cleansing with face wipes kind of keeps a barrier between your face and your skin, and it lessens that finger to skin contact, and it also prevents you from finding any triggering areas to pick at. You could draw about it. At PickingMe, we say if it's hard to talk about it, let's draw about it. And it's really been this great art therapy experience of self-expression through the disorder. So definitely check out our art gallery on our website and submit your own. You could try fake nails or acrylics. So here, this might be a helpful barrier for someone to put so that they have a harder time manipulating or grabbing the skin or the hair that they're going for. Here, I recommend asking for a full set, not gel, cutting them short, filing them round, and maybe seeing if you could go to a similar place often and build a rapport with someone who you might even share that you do this as a BFRB strategy. And to focus on progress, not perfection, is a huge tip. Instead of setting your goal to stop picking, set mini goals to experience these mini wins and kind of build on that progress. And you can create this momentum, and that's more where happy happens. So instead of stop picking, maybe it's tonight I won't pick this area, or maybe I'll only pull from this side. It's really about setting the mini goals to have mini wins. And also share your story. Take control back from this controlling disorder by owning it instead of it owning you. And I really found I experienced that by starting to speak about it, to share. So I do recommend doing that. And if so, using hashtag PickingMe to share your story. And here are some images of Drawing with Derma submissions, the art therapy program. Some of the face wipes that I was mentioning, types you could use, and my acrylics that I have put on. Okay, so working with and making accommodations for individuals with BFRBs is crucial in creating an optimal, safe, and inclusive work environment. And ways you can go about this look like creating a sensory area. And this could be a room that is designated as cozy and comfortable, dim lights, quiet, access to finger activities like coloring books, puzzles, origami, fidget toys, or PickingMe Fiddle Pack, which we'll get to. Looking at how the bathroom is, definitely seeing if there's something you can alter in the environment here to set that BFRB struggler up to succeed. Provide hand moisturizer to soften rough edges, especially from the frequent hand washing we're all experiencing. Consider the lighting situation. Maybe you could dim the lights or unscrew a light bulb or tape down a light switch or turn off the lights if possible, all as options. Ways you could help limit mirror use would be great. Maybe leaving out Post-its to write affirmations on and stick them on the mirror where you would find yourself picking or pulling for the time that you use it. Or scribble a self-love note on the mirror for when you're in there. Staying arm's length away is definitely a great tip. And even having the option to have a removable mirror in the bathroom altogether. And last would be a timer. Bringing a kitchen timer a stopwatch, or having something like that available to help someone limit their bathroom use. And here are some examples of altering the mirror or using a coloring book or a fidget toy to fidget with. Some more accommodations. You could create a basket that you keep under the sink that offers access to Band-Aids, nail clippers, nail files, and hydrocolloid patches so that BFRB users who might find themselves struggling and not have those items on them have that available to them at work. I love hydrocolloid patches. They are like small circular blister patches that cover any perceived imperfections, and they suck out any impurities and let the area heal for you. You would offer blockers, maybe providing items like gloves or finger cups, sweat wristbands, tight or long clothing, all to prevent wandering fingers from scanning and getting at areas under them. Fidget toys. So yes, keeping your fingers busy and off your body is key. And you could do that a lot with fidgeting with fidget toys. Squeezing a stress ball, twisting a tangle, mushing putty, popping poppers, flicking a foam square, roll of fake grape, fold pipe cleaners. I mean, it goes on, but all of these are found in one of our PickingMe fiddle packs that you can get to kind of try out all different sensations. Because it really does take a willingness to try out different sensory items to see which ones jive with you, because not all work for all people. And my main tip with fidget toys is really to give each fidget one job, one purpose, one location, and this really increases the likelihood of you actually using them. For example, my Tangle lives on my keyboard. So for instance, if I go to the bathroom, I put him on my keyboard so that when I come back to the bathroom, the first thing my fingers have to do is pick him up and start using it. And that just helps me from instead coming back and start having my fingers wander on my body. So really finding that one job, one purpose approach to fidget. And another tip here is you could offer a branded fidget toy to all your employees and new hires. That'd be a great way to kind of eliminate the stigma of having to use a type of fidget toy by offering one to everyone. And here are those finger cuts I mentioned, hydrocolloid patches known as pimple patches, our fiddle packs, kind of everything that's in them, and an example of a stress ball to brand. For more accommodations, you could also offer remote work. I think it'd be great to have the option sometimes to work from home if that's not something that you're already doing. Candidates could interview virtually, offering the option to even not use video during certain meetings. All of this would help eliminate the stress of having to show the effects of your BFRB if that's something that you're struggling with. And you know, if you see picked skin or sores or blood through clothing, bald spots, don't ask what happened, as it really can increase shame. I'd recommend letting someone inform you on their hair pulling or skin picking. And you can incorporate BFRB education into diversity trainings. Email the team or the company or employee resource group that you want to create a safe space for mental health experiences and have taken the time to learn about BFRBs, and even have downloadable resources to offer to anyone who might be interested. If someone inquires about BFRB resources, be prepared with printed materials and handouts like that derma resource packet from PickingMe. And you can leave these in open spaces or a community room for some people who might not be comfortable asking for them. And here is some PickingMe resources, the derma resource packet, me speaking at an OCD event, and our email sign up. So the pandemic has really increased challenges for individuals living and working with BFRBs. Personally, I have experienced it, and the community as well. So here are some recommendations to offer in this current time. Upping the finger activities. Things like peeling an orange, unfolding a paper clip, twirling a keychain, cracking pistachios, shuffling a deck of cards, popping bubble wrap. making a paper airplane, crocheting, all these things to keep your fingers busy and off your body. And definitely keeping these items in areas accessible to you. Looking at the media bites that are really reminding us right now to not touch your face can be triggering for a lot of people suffering with BFRBs. So I kind of recommend reframing those as cheerleaders, really cheering you on as you take on progress with your skin picking or hair pulling. And since hand washing is definitely up right now with sanitizers, and that can kind of create some dry, rough patches, triggering areas for BFRBers that might feel urges to pick or pull at. So definitely keeping moisturizers on more tabletops and surfaces, maybe using a cuticle oil or vitamin E in a glove and letting your hands soak overnight. Maskne, which is a mask acne, really creates more picking opportunities as well. Here you could look at washing a reusable mask between use, putting salve like Vaseline on chafed mask lines, cleansing with face wipes in between mask use, and wearing those hydrocolloid patches under the mask, especially if you're timid to wear them out in public. It's a great opportunity to try them out wearing them under the mask. And here's an example of some of the items that you can fidget with from some of our COVID resources you can find online, and me wearing my hydrocolloid patch under my mask. Yes, so again, remote work is happening for so many of us. So again, offering virtual meetings with video being optional would be great. And even if you notice that someone's lighting might not be too bright in their frame and their setup, that could actually be a strategy that they're using because it might be triggering to be continuing to see their face in our frequent virtual meetings. Recommending placing fidgets by your new home workstation so that they're out and visible, not under like your bed in a box or in a bowl on a desk, but having them really out and ready to be used. Still limiting that mirror and bright light use. At home, you can do a little bit more here. So maybe you could spray glass frost on your mirror to make it a little more distorted to see through, or cover with a scarf, or move it to the other side of the room. I've even tried nailing it a couple inches higher and noticed that I would have to stand on my tippy toes to check it because I kept trying to see in it, just to notice how many times I was peeking in the mirror. For lighting, try washing up by nightlight, leaving that bathroom door open while you're using it and just using hallway light. And remember that being stuck inside can really decrease accountability. And so embracing a support buddy for mental health check-ins could be great. And following helpful social media accounts for encouraging advice towards your goals, or even hosting a community hangout on a video app to connect socially while distancing. And here are some tweets just about BFRB experiences being up during COVID, and a medley of media articles covering that topic. An example of somebody setting up their home workstation with their fidget toys. And yeah. Okay, so let's look at some other ways to provide support in the workplace. Here you could book webinars like this to learn more and help educate others on how to work with and on behalf of individuals with BFRBs. You could send a team email or news update that you have learned about BFRBs and you have these resources to show those silent strugglers that they are seen and that you can be approached by them. You could celebrate May's Mental Health Month by circulating skin picking and hair pulling resources, mental health resources in general. And you could advocate for BFRBs during BFRB Awareness Week, which is October 1st through 7th. And you can even share with your team about the donation you made to the PickingMe Foundation in honor of BFRB Awareness Week. You could consider having your brand follow mental health accounts on social media, specific BFRB accounts like PickingMe FDN or TLC BFRB. And that's also another way to show your employees that they're seen. just by following accounts like that. And you can consider doing an office fundraiser to PickingMe or mental health nonprofits to really involve the team and get people together, working together for mental health awareness. And it's important to share with your team that you do this because it really shows that you support and care. And here are some ways that you can get involved. You can do a fundraiser on Facebook, which is one of those examples. Another is adding a donate button on Instagram as a fundraiser, or just donating in general. So here are some resources to offer, to go over, and just a few more to include. So what you see here is some of the main tools that we've outlined already as resources. You can find them all at pickingme.org. So the online support group, which meets the first and third Tuesday of every month. There's the Derma Resource Pack, which you can order for information or have sent to any dermatologist, which we do on behalf of us. We'll send them to any dermatologist to get more info out. The skin picking log, which you can download. The fiddle pack of fidgets, which you can order. And for each one that is ordered, we donate one to a dermatologist, pediatrician, or sufferer in need, and our social media account to stay connected. And then here we have BFRB.org, which is the TLC Foundation for BFRBs, a great resource for finding a therapist who's trained in hair pulling or skin picking, local support group listings, a lineup of virtual events, and an annual conference for BFRB awareness. Overcoming BFRBs is a great book by Dr. Charlie Mansueto. Highly recommend it. It's a workbook you can use with or without a therapist. Habit Aware Keen is a smart bracelet or wearable that you can train, buzz, vibrate during certain picking or pulling motions, and it can help you become aware of when you are picking or pulling. And then the International OCD Foundation, Mental Health America, and Anxiety and Depression Association of America, which are all organizations that provide further mental health and BFRB resources. And so here are some of those direct links that I mentioned to PickingMe, the other mental health organizations, the book I recommended, and the awareness bracelet. So thank you so much for attending my presentation. I am so grateful and appreciative that you took time to learn about BFRBs through me and my story with skin picking disorder. I'm excited that your candidates and employees will be in such an informed environment and hope more companies follow your lead. I hope this was in some way helpful, and thank you again for spending this time with me today. I encourage anyone who would like to speak further to reach out to me at lauren@pickingme.org. And last, just to share, I do run this nonprofit with one other teammate, and the need for the two of us to continue this foundation exponentially grows. And we cannot provide these resources without help from awesome communities like yours. So if you were in any way touched or inspired by this presentation today, I'd be beyond grateful if you'd consider donating and would love to talk to you further about it. So now if anyone has any questions, I would love to answer what I can. Thank you.
Yes, Lauren, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for sharing your personal story, your personal experiences, just being so open about this topic. I shared with you, and I'll share with the broader audience, that even as we set up this webinar, as we shared out the registration link, we had a significant number of people, as they were registering, disclose having a BFRB or having one of the conditions that you specifically spoke about in that registration form, and thanking us for validating their experiences and for being seen. And so that's, just case in point, why we suggest to organizations, employers, people in general, share more stories about yourself or about specific topics like this. You never know if somebody that you're talking to or that you've known potentially identifies with something like this. And so that is our way of achieving inclusivity and achieving that feeling of belonging, is to validate these experiences, is to set time in our schedules to talk about important topics like this. So Lauren, again, I can't thank you enough. We do have a couple questions that I wanted to get to. So Lauren Patton, I know you're back with us again, and because you've shared a bit of your story, I wanted to ask you as well, and then Lauren McKeaney, please feel free to piggyback off of anything that Lauren says. But Lauren Patton, Lauren talked about having people come to you to share their experiences, to disclose if they identify with something like this. You know, one of the number one questions that we received even prior to this webinar is, what's the appropriate way to talk about it? You know, if you do see an employee, whether it's on a video chat, if we're all still remote, or even if you're in person again, maybe even it's a family member or a friend, and it seems like they might have some of these signs and symptoms that we just covered, is there a way to ask about that and it feel appropriate? You know, if somebody asked you, you know, how would
Me?
you, yeah, if someone asked you, you know, like, how would you respond, or what would you prefer people say or not say?
I mean, I think I'm pretty much an open book for anyone that knows me. I do think that different people are different, and your workplace is your workplace. Sometimes people don't feel comfortable opening up. I think that Sarah and I's boss has really opened up our culture for us to feel like we could be ourselves and try and help other people. Um, I mean, I wouldn't mind if someone be like, your eyebrow is bleeding, dude. But I mean, I can't say that for everyone. Maybe Lauren could offer a better perspective. I mean, I would always say, as a human thing, if someone can't be on video, you don't need to ask. There could be a million reasons. There could even be like their child is sick or something. You know what I'm saying? Or if they can't come into work, and now that we're in a remote society, that's a little more acceptable than it used to be. But maybe just giving someone that privacy, especially while they're embarrassed about it, or just like stop picking. I know it's meant to sound good, but then, you know, like Lauren said, you're being bad, quote unquote, like you're a child. So, and I've had people do that to me at work too, and they all mean well, probably because I'm like, I'm picking my eyebrows out, or I'm, you know, picking my scab off my arm or whatever. But that's who I am, and I think just remembering that everyone is human and they have different, just like their picking is different from everyone. They have different ways they react to things too. And if you want to share your story like we are, I think it does help people, let them know they're not the only one, you know, while their face is killing them and they're bleeding.
Mhm.
Yeah, totally agreed with that, Lauren. And I just add, so if someone's not disclosing, perhaps there could be that individual might not even know that there's a name for what they're doing to themselves in the first place. I've seen that. I've also seen individuals who are afraid to disclose because they assumed that their employer didn't know about this and they didn't want to have to be the one to go through explaining it. But I've also seen people who did disclose, and then actually the person who they shared with was elated to learn about the term because they knew somebody who struggles as well. You know, so I think we'll get more information on how to handle BFRBs as more people start to share. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Lauren Patton, going back to, you know, what you shared about yourself, is this something that you would label or consider to be a disability? You know, this is the space that we sit in, you know, and everybody wants to know, you know, what are different things that could be or could not be considered to be a disability? Is that something that you consider?
I mean, I never really thought about it until now. I do also have ADHD, anxiety, and depression. So just add it to the list. But they kind of all go together as well. So once I started, I didn't really think ADHD was a disability. So once I started like getting into this space, you realize how much time that takes out of your life when you're doing stuff like this. And you're, you know, I'm going to therapy for all of these things, and you don't pick for just one reason. Usually there's a multitude of reasons why, or why it's initiated, or why you continue to do it. So for me, it kind of all goes in together. I think disclosing is very personal, and I can understand why someone wouldn't feel comfortable. So many times before I ever disclosed anything, I would just hide everything with makeup, and I've gone through so many eyebrow pencils. And I do think it's interesting that Lauren mentioned like that men are underrepresented and they're misdiagnosed often. That also happens with ADHD, where girls are misdiagnosed because it, you know, presents differently. So we mentioned things like the nails, which I could get to. I mean, a lot of men don't want to get nails. A lot of them do, but you know what I'm saying, or don't want to wear makeup. And the more we talk about it, the better it, you know, then more men can come out and say, I do have this issue. And then we can help more men, the opposite gender, because I do think that it probably affects them as well, but they have less things to hide their things with, their shame or whatever they're not comfortable with. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's because I put on makeup a lot and don't tell people. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, and you know, I have to say, Lauren McKeaney, to your part of your point of what you shared with your story, when you said that you started to know this around 5 years old, that really struck me because with that point and with some of the things that you mentioned throughout your presentation, it touches on the fact that there are a lot of phrases that we grow up saying, that we grow up hearing. And I even think, you know, I have a 1-year-old daughter. Even some of the phrases that we've already said to her of, you know, we don't stick our hands in our mouths, we don't do this, we don't do that. You know, you see a child picking at something and it's just immediately you stop it. And not to say that you should necessarily, you know, be encouraging that every time you see it and go the polar opposite direction, but just having this different perspective now, different level of sensitivity, and having a term and knowing that it could potentially be something to look out for, I think is extremely useful, and kind of smashing a bit of the stigma as well that this could be something that maybe exists in children and that you grow out of because adults or people who are professional don't pick. It isn't something that someone in leadership would do. You know, there are a lot of stereotypes around how different people should act and what that looks like. So I wanted to thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you for everything you just shared there. First, just to note what you said about your 1-year-old and just taking on a new sensitivity to that. That's really incredible to hear. And, you know, it almost reminds me of taking on, if, you know, she is or someone is picking or pulling, instead of the stop, it's like understanding that there's something going inside that needs attention or something at that moment. So it's replacing that. Sometimes my mom and I would, when we realized the stop picking wasn't working for me, saying it, sometimes she would just see me picking and all of a sudden I'd be holding a cup. And I had no idea why I was holding a cup, but I was holding a cup because she just put a cup in my hand to get me to stop moving my hand. So it's kind of like letting my hands do something else or get my hands on something else. So that was really helpful. So thank you for sharing that. And also, I think in sharing like with people going forward, I'm sorry, I forgot the last part you said. I did have a comment on it though.
Yeah, I was just saying that you know, there's a lot of stigma as to how certain people should act, especially as professionals, people in leadership, people in power, even, you know, as we label people as those types of things or with those titles. And this isn't something necessarily that would be looked at as something that's acceptable.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. And that's so true again. And I'm appreciative that you point that out. And even I've experienced some things like that, not like necessarily someone in power, but I struggle with this disorder still. I mean, and it's visible, and it was really hard for me to embrace myself as a leader of sorts with this disorder by still struggling with it. I remember sitting on a recovery panel and having on like an eye patch because I had picked so bad. And I didn't feel like I belonged there at all. But really the fact of it's taught me that just showing up and continuing to share and continuing to experience what I'm experiencing, but sharing it is really, at least for me, my ultimate freedom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Lauren, Pat, and in terms of additional resources, I know, Lauren McKeaney, you shared some great ones that are brand new to me that I didn't know. So thank you for, you know, presenting us with some new resources that are available and out there. But Lauren, Pat, and I know some additional resources that we tend to use are ones like Job Accommodation Network or JAN, and you were able to find that they have some resources there, or even potentially using or turning to your employee resource groups as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of these resources that we'll share with everyone after, they can totally bring to their employee resource group, maybe during Mental Health Awareness Week or BFRB Awareness Week, which is in October with a lot of other disability events as well. Maybe this could be a theme for that, or have someone like Lauren come and talk and do something like that. I will say this kind of started as well when I looked up on JAN, Job Accommodation Network, which is one of our partners. I had looked up different job accommodations for ADHD, for anxiety, and all of that. And a lot of them kind of cross. And I was looking up trichotillomania, which was hair pulling. I always just call myself a picker. I didn't really separate the two. And it was filed under OCD. So to Lauren's point, where there wasn't a term until 2013, which is not that long ago, there still needs to be more talk about the individual things and how while they are a form of OCD, they're not completely that. So I do love Jan, and honestly, the OCD stuff for me, and the anxiety and the ADHD and depression stuff, a lot of the accommodations they suggest for work are very similar to what Lauren has suggested. A quiet place, something to fiddle with, or play with, maybe some noise canceling headphones. So a lot of them kind of go together, and they also, which Sarah, you've always mentioned, help everyone. Sometimes people just need to be quieter. Sometimes people need a thing to play with, or even if they don't identify with having anything like a disability. So I really want to plug Jan. I think they're a great resource for anyone who has any questions. It's even a good resource if you want to talk to your boss, then it even sorts it by job function. So like if you need to organize or you need to prioritize, they have all these places you can go to download apps, maybe payment ones, maybe free ones, where you can buy certain things that would help you, like Band-Aids, fiddle packs, stuff like that. Anything. It's like a really great resource that I think, Sarah, you maybe partnered with them before I even joined the team, but it does help with a lot of these things, especially when it comes to being in the workplace and culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, and to that point too, I know, Lauren McKeaney, you shared some great points and tips and best practices for while we're all working remotely. And because of the pandemic, the different situations that we are in. And so to kind of summarize that, I think one point is this is a stressful time. Anxiety within individuals has increased. Stress, depression, the number of cases of self-reported mental illness or people having mental health issues is significantly on the rise. That is the number one disability that is increasing because of what's happening right now in our country and in our society. So I think it's one, having that sensitivity that external factor could be a trigger. And so while it might not necessarily be something that's appropriate to ask people about and now be so hyper aware to where you see someone potentially picking on camera, you try to call them out because that's not appropriate. It could instead be something that you try to address proactively. I think that's a piece of advice that we always have when it comes to disability inclusion, but really for the inclusion and for the best culture, best practices for inclusive cultures in general. Try to address something proactively. Let people know, hey, I attended this great webinar and learned something that I didn't know about before. And you can send them the link to the recording once we send that out. Or I know companies are trying to find additional ways to make their employees feel engaged and as part of a team still. Lauren, you mentioned having company branded swag or additional picking toys and fidget toys. That's something that you could do as well. And potentially if you have especially new hires coming on, sending out a stress ball to people, which would be really fantastic to do. And again, doing that proactively, not saying that it's because of this, but just giving people something to fidget with, to have. So I think those are all really great points there as well. I know we are coming up on time. So Lauren McKeaney, especially, I wanted to ask you, is there anything else that you wanted to mention as kind of a closing thought, or, hey, if there's one thing that you really want the audience to remember about this? One action item especially. Is there anything in particular that comes to mind that you want to reiterate?
I maybe would say everyone picks something. I really think that on some level, everyone experiences a BFRB. So just knowing that it really can be an experience of suffering for some individuals is huge, and awareness is key. So the more you can share, whether you're the struggler or if you're someone who learned about it, an advocate, supporter, the more you can share, the more people who will know about this disorder we can help. So awareness is key. Yeah.
Absolutely. Lauren, Patton, was there anything else that you wanted to add just in summary from today?
No, if we didn't answer anyone's questions, obviously reach out to us and we will definitely follow up with resources. If you would have liked to see something else or maybe something down the road, please let us know. You have our contact information on our website and Lawrence from here, and we'll send it out. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you to everybody again. And I think, again, sharing your story is huge. That's a really easy, I'll say, way to encourage others to share something about themselves as well, and not by directly asking, but by sharing something about yourself. I know, Lauren McKeaney, you and I were talking a couple times leading up to this webinar, and I said, this is so interesting for me to learn as well, because I have family members that I've known growing up throughout my entire life. That same thing, I just always saw them pick until they bleed. And we didn't know what to do other than to follow their lead, and sometimes maybe just give a quiet reminder of, hey, you're doing this. I don't know if you realize. My husband will yell at me sometimes, not really yell, but he'll say something to me sometimes, because it's, my triggers are when I have finally gotten to a quiet space or environment, like when we're in the car taking a road trip somewhere. I will sit and my brain wanders and moves so fast that I will pick my fingers until they bleed. And he sees that and he'll say, what is going on through your head? That's just the immediate question. He sees me picking and he says, what are you thinking about? What's happening? And it forces me to take myself out of my head. And so I think reminder too, that there's a spectrum to this. Like there is for everything else that we talk about, every other disability that we talk about as well. It doesn't have to look like, Lauren McKeaney, what you shared. It doesn't have to look like what Lauren Patton shared. It can be whatever you feel that you have and what you personally identify with. So encourage everybody to continue sharing your stories. We will send out all of this great information and resources to everybody that PickingMe Foundation offers. So again, please let us know if you have any questions. And Lauren, especially, well, both Laurens, I wanted to thank you for being with us today, for sharing your stories, for bringing all of this knowledge to us today on, again, a hugely important topic that I think is just not understood and underrepresented. So thank you all again.